Hi there, Percolate Girl here. Well, it's that time of year I'm back in my plant room, trying to get my hands in the soil any way I can while everything's cold and covered with snow outside. So today I decided to take these two Amaryllis bulbs that I have and put them in some nicer pots. I grew these two Amaryllis last year. It's only the second time I think I've ever grown Amaryllis, and I decided to try keeping them over the summer, and I'm hoping to get them to flower again this winter. So cross my fingers that I know what I'm doing here and it works out. This one is, what's it called, Dutch Bell. And this one is Fantastico. So what I did with these, after they had flowered and done their thing, and I let the flower shrivel up, I cut it down when it died off and just let the rest of the plant, I just put it in a nice sunny area, slowed down on the watering quite a bit, and just let them basically dry out and dry up. And then once it was warm enough, once we were past all the frost and into, I think it was like pretty consistently 10-15 degrees outside, I put them outside. It was still getting cooler out at night a little bit, I think, then, but I had it up like on my deck and against the wall of the house, and it was on the north side of the house. So here that means it was getting morning sun, afternoon shade, and that's just where they sat all summer. Every once in a while I'd walk by them and think, I should give them a drink. So I'd give them a little bit of water, but really they sat there neglected. I wasn't sure what would happen, but like I said, they had pretty much died back, shriveled up. I cut off the really yellow dried up leaves at some point, and over the summer they grew more new leaves, fresh leaves, and they just sat out there. And we got a pretty early heavy frost and prolonged cold this year, so they were still sitting out there while I was running around worried about everything else that was out there and trying to get things cleaned up as quick as I could. And one day I thought, well, I guess I should grab them, bring them in, and just see if there's any hope left. Now, we had lots of rain that time of year, which again isn't normal. Lots of cold, lots of rain, and even some snow. And I brought them in. Now, they were raised up, like I said, so they weren't right down at ground level, so they would have been a little warmer than things down on the ground. But the foliage was just, it had been frozen, so it had that kind of mushy, gross deadness to it that you get when a plant is frozen. And these are like, this is a thick, fleshy leaf on this kind of plant, so they were pretty gross. And the bulbs themselves even felt a little bit squishy to me, and so I kind of had written them off, but I brought them in anyways, gave them a chance, and I just set them in a north window. I didn't obviously water them. They were wet. They were waterlogged already, and I just left them there for a few months. I did come by and I cut off the dead frozen foliage. I cut that all back and just left them sitting there again for a couple of months. And as you can see now, it's November 13th, I believe, and they've grown new fresh foliage, and the bulbs have firmed up again. They actually feel quite nice again. I've let them pretty much dry out. I've given them a couple small drinks, and I have moved them out into a high south window, so they're getting a lot of sunlight in the afternoons. And some heat. And I'm not sure if that's the right place for them, because I think they're actually supposed to have a cooler area, but I believe the more heat they get, the faster they grow, and that's just where I put them. So I've decided that if they're gonna make this effort to give on another show this year, I should make an effort and put them in a nicer pot, because I had these just set down in some pretty pots last year, but I thought they like to be root bound. I think I have some pots that are just the right size, so I'm gonna pop them in there, and I thought maybe you'd like to see that. So we'll give that a go, and hopefully I get some flowers out of these again this year. Okay, so I got these pots here, and I'm thinking they'll work quite well for the Amaryllis. The Amaryllis likes to be pot bound. It doesn't actually like the bulb all the way down in the soil. So I think these will be perfect. So what I've done is I've just taken part of a coffee filter, covered up the drainage hole. The drainage is nice because then they, they don't actually like to be really wet, so that helps to drain off the excess moisture. So let's start with the Fantastico. I'm going to put a little bit of extra fresh soil down in the pot here. Spread that out, get that coffee filter against there, and that'll keep the soil from coming out. So let's have a look at what's going on in here. Oh, there must be some good roots. That's in there quite well. Move this other pot out of the way. So I just have a little bit of top dressing. I'm gonna get what I can off of here. Let's see if we can get this out. Oh my goodness. Wow, so those roots have gotten really nice and full in here. This does look nice and healthy. The roots are nice and white. There's no funky smells coming from it after all that dampness. I wasn't sure what I'd see looking in here, but definitely root bound, which is what they're supposed to like. And I don't see any signs of bugs or anything in here, so yeah, that looks really good. I'm happy with that. Now this was maybe potted a little deeper than it needed to be. You know, you're supposed to put them about halfway into the soil, and I think this one, well, maybe that was about halfway. Just seemed like it was past that point on the bulb, but actually when I get down on the bulb there, it was about halfway, so that's good. So now I need to try and get it positioned that way in this pot. Oh, there's too much soil in there. Now these came in a kit, so they had some of their own soil, and it was a very loose soil. I think it had a lot of cocoa coir or something in it. And now I'm just using a regular potting soil, but it has a lot of peat moss and some bigger chunks and things, so I think it'll work all right. So I'm just going to go around and fill in the top, and then I'll give it a couple of thunks to get this worked down. Okay, so I've got that in there. There are a couple of roots kind of poking up here, and I'm not sure what'll happen with those, but I'm going to leave them for now and see. They might wind up rotting or needing trimming, or maybe they'll work themselves back down and find the soil. I really don't know what they'll do. I'm going to sprinkle what was left of that top dress back on. I'll probably have to pick up some more, but you could use like a moss or anything. They don't have to be top dressed. I just think it looks nice when you have that bulb sticking up, and then to have the soil covered just with a little bit of something. So there. I'll give this a little bit of water just to settle that soil in, and then they really don't need, like, they don't want to be very wet, so it's just give them a feel, and maybe once a week or so, depending on the warmth in your house, they might need a bit of watering, but they don't want to stay wet. And a nice bright spot, like I said, they don't really like the heat. Like where I have them is probably too hot, and I should move them into a little bit cooler area now because they're really putting on some leaf growth. But generally They say 6 to 12 weeks after you plant an amaryllis, depending on the variety. They'll, if they're in a nice bright area, then they will bloom for you. So I'm hoping, these have been growing now for, it's hard to believe, but only a couple of weeks really they've been doing this. So I'm hoping that I'll have some blooms in time for Christmas, but any time really would make me happy to see some blooms. So I'm gonna get the other one fixed up here and have a look at both of them. They say with Amaryllis, the bigger the bulb, the better the flowers show. So sometimes if you buy them in the little kits and boxes, they don't say anything about the bulb. If you can't get in there and have a look at what you're getting, you might want to pass those by in favor of some bulk bulbs that you can see what you're getting. Or you might not really get any amount of flowers or any flower at all out of the bulb. These are both like a good, I don't know what would that be, 4 to 6 inches wide. I'm supposed to try and keep the soil and the moisture away from the neck of the bulb. So I just want to put enough water in there to settle the soil down and make sure there's no air pockets in there. Okay, so there they are. I think they look quite nice. It's always nice to get your plants planted in a proper pot, and sometimes I cheap out a little bit and don't always get the proper pots for the plants, and honestly these pots were from the dollar store anyway. So I think this look really nice. I'm going to set them out in my living room where I can enjoy them. Some of the key points for Amaryllis, as I understand it, is remember, they don't actually want to be planted past about the center of their bulb. You don't want to get any water or soil down inside the neck of the bulb. They like bright indirect light. Heat will speed up their growth, cool slows it down. So if you get planting them a little bit late, maybe you want to put them in a room that's a little bit warmer, but once they start to flower and you want to keep those flowers lasting for a while, you might want to move them somewhere that's a little bit cooler, or even just at night, you know, when you go to bed, maybe put them in a cooler room, because even that little bit of cool time will help to cool them down and just extend their flowering time. So that's my Amaryllis. I'll try and remember to give you an update when they bloom. Fingers crossed they bloom for me again this year. I've heard they can be a little bit fussy with that, but so far they're looking really good. But I just thought that you might find this interesting to see me get my Amaryllis moved on and see that they can survive over the summer. And like I said, hopefully we'll get another beautiful show of flowers. Let me know in the comments down below, do you grow Amaryllis regularly? What do you do to keep them? Do you use them as an annual, or do you keep them over the summer and grow them year after year? So I'd love to hear down in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed already, then hit that subscribe button so you can keep coming back and seeing what I'm doing next time. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. I repotted these last week, and now there's a flower stalk forming. So it looks like I will get Amaryllis flowers again this year in time for Christmas probably.